Do.
Welcome to Padres Talking Padres. Good evening, Michael. How you doing? Not really sure how the Yankees are doing. I haven't been really paying attention to the Yankees, to be honest with you. I hear the Yankees can score runs, so I don't pay attention to teams that can score runs. Jay is on his way back from the United Kingdom. Will be joining us next week, I believe. And that's it. That's it. We're done.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. In light of what happened this past 6 games since our last broadcast, is there really anything to talk about? I mean,
well, I know I didn't have 0-6.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's baseball. It really is. In all seriousness, this stuff happens.
Yeah.
I think I speak for everybody. It's not the losing streak; it's the way we're losing. Until today, today was a good game. If I was telling a buddy of mine earlier today, I was like, if this would have been in the midst of a roller coaster back and forth, wins, losses, and all that, one got away, but you know what? Good game. The other, it's the advantage I don't like. And again, I get it. Everybody gets 81 home games. Everyone gets 81 road games. Still don't like the overtime or extra inning rule. I'm just not a big fan. I wish they would kind of wean into it. I wish they'd let us play the 10th and maybe even the 11th and then say, okay, now we're going to go with the runners on base. But that's just me in a personal opinion. And bottom line is, you had 9 innings to win it in regulation. So, but today was a good game. Today, I didn't get to see much of it. I was golfing this morning, which in San Diego time was most of I think about the first 6 innings that I missed. But hey, Gavin Sheets had a great game. Merrill looks like he's coming around. Arise, who I want to touch on after you get a few comments in here, had a good game. So hopefully that it's turning the corner.
Yeah, it's the. I was watching in it because I had my grandkids and we're doing water things. I'm trying to watch it on my phone, and Sheets almost had another home run because I'm listening to it. They listened to. I had my phone in my pocket that the game was on, and he's hit it deep. I'm like going, oh, he hit it the second. This would have been the second home run, not the third one. He hit the 9th, and I go, oh, it's caught at the wall. I meant,
Yeah.
You're listening to it. It's like, oh, dang, because we struggled. Obviously, we got the 2 runs in the first, or no, I'm sorry, second, right?
Second, yeah.
Second inning, Sheets hit a 2-run homer. Merrill got on, and then after that, it was goose egg, and you're like going, they just couldn't get the hit with guys on base, and you're just like going, oh my god,
0 for 6 until the 9th inning.
Yeah, and Tatis looked like he's lost, and Manny, who had at least a good offensive game the day before, the 14-0 game, but was horrible defensively. He's already got 8 errors, and all last season he had 9.
Yeah.
He's already got 8 because people were blaming Maury Home. I go, well, if your defense lets you down, what can you do?
Yeah.
That's why they're on earned runs, because the defense let you down. And it's just like, I don't know. And then people today were like going, Kolick, oh, get rid of him. I said, well, he went 6 innings and gave up 3 runs. Well, 4, but 3 were earned. I go, it's again the defense. Yeah. I mean, I like Sheets but either it's left field or DH. He can't play first base. He's just not athletic enough.
I don't think he can play left field either. I think he's just a DH. I trying to give a guy a day off, so to speak, but it's not working. Was it Mark Grant? I don't think he originated, but he says, when you put a guy like that on defense, the ball seems to find you. It's crazy, but it just seems to find you, So
yeah, and he's just not mobile enough, flexible enough. I don't know what it is. He's a big guy.
Yeah,
he's a great find. I mean, you got to give Preller credit. He's this year's Profar.
Great DH. Yeah, great DH.
Great DH.
Just leave it at that.
Leave it at that. And you still got a hole at left field, and you still have a hole. The catching position's not giving you a lot of offense, but I think if the offense is hitting, if your top guys are producing, then you don't notice it. Yeah. But when those guys aren't hitting, it's just like, oh my God, this team can't not function. They just can't. It's just it's hard to it's not just it's not the losing part like you were saying. It's the way they're losing. It's just like, okay, I can't watch this. I
Yeah.
can't watch these guys go up there swinging at ball because Tatis, I don't know. Did he get hurt when he got hit on the forearm in Pittsburgh? Because he has not been the same hitter since, even though he's had a couple home runs. But he's back to swinging at bad pitches, which he wasn't doing before that. Now it's like I go, what do you do? It's just like he doesn't even want to be out there.
Yeah.
It's like maybe he's not used to playing a whole season. I don't know what it is, but and then Manny now, Manny's averages dropped 30 points. Tatis averages dropped 30 points. It's just frustrating to watch. But again, it's a long season. I know they'll snap out of it, but it would be nice to have won because the pitching has been pretty good.
Well, it's been spotty too, but all the things I hear you say, I'm not going to disagree with. There's a few things to me, and I'm not trying to be overly optimistic, but I'm also I try not to be too overly pessimistic. It's an 0-6. I don't care if you lost one-run games every time. I don't care if you lost 14-13 one game and 1-0 the next. It's a loss. I think a lot of it for me is we were kind of texting earlier this week. If this is the kind of team you're going to be, and I'm fine with it, we're not a home run hitting team. This is not a home run hitting team. I'm fine with that, but the problem with that is if you got 4 or 5 of your main core guys not hitting, then it doesn't work. I think the only thing to me, and man, the sports radio here is just going nuts with it, man. I mean, every day ad nauseum, GM moves, manager moves, lineup changes, and everybody's just trying to, as I always say, everybody's first hobby is to be the GM of their local sports team. The second hobby is to be the manager of the local sports team. We're all great at Monday night, Monday morning quarterback. We all think that we have the greatest deal ever. Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? And I always say, look, we can all have our ideas, and that's part of what this show is about. You have your GM ideas, who would I want, and all that. We don't have the insight to the conversations that go on. We don't know what other GMs are asking for if we want to go get a new left fielder. Maybe every conversation starts with DeVries or Salas, and of course, Preller's like, no, I'm not doing that. Same thing with the lineups. I mean, look, if nobody's hitting, does it really, really matter where anybody's hitting? I mean, that 5 games prior to this, did it really even matter who was batting first, second, fifth, ninth? Because if nobody's hitting, it really doesn't matter. When you're only getting 5 hits, you're not hitting with runners in scoring position. Tatis can hit first, you get fifth. It doesn't really matter. I think the thing for me that I just noticed today, and only because I feel like I saw it a little bit today, is it just me, or does Luis Arraez seem to be the only excited guy on the team right now? I just, I remember falling in love with this team because the constant pressure they put on teams and the having each other's back and all that kind of, and I've seen guys I'm not trying to pick on certain guys. Maybe it is because they make the most money and we expect more, but Tatis looks like he's sulking. I mean, he
Yeah,
gets out and he just does not. I mean, I'm not expecting him to go back and be smiling and grinning, but he's literally just running from first base and running right to the dugout and just sitting
it's
down
Tatis.
and
It's
yeah,
to I noticed the same. It's Tatis when he was first put in the outfield,
yeah,
and he didn't want to be out there, and he was pouting and
yeah.
sulking. I mean, I don't know what's wrong. I don't
And
know.
and
I
Manny
heard
has
it. I
no
heard.
emotion whatsoever, and I understand he's the clubhouse guy, but Manny has no emotion. If he strikes out or hits a double play, it's like, oh well, just the
Yeah.
okay. And you can't try and play that if it's not working, so to speak. But man, I mean, this team has absolutely zero vibe right now. I mean, zero. And when I saw, Arise take out poor David Macias's chest, when he got
Oh
a couple of hits today,
yeah.
I mean,
when he had the go
yeah.
ahead, the go ahead
I
one in
think
the 10th.
Macias has got a cavity in there now because of how hard he hits him. But
Oh, but
yeah,
usually he hasn't been hitting him that hard this season, but he
yeah.
smacked him today.
But yeah, I think you just need a little fire. And my big thing is too is one last thing on the offense. If we're going to be that kind of a team, if we're going to be the move the guy around team, well then let's start doing it better. Heck, just bunt somebody over. Let's steal a base. They tried to steal one today, got thrown out. But what was it that Schilt? I think it was Schilt that said beginning of the year when they were winning. If you go back to those 7-0, in fact, I didn't. I meant to do that. Doggone it, I was going to do that. How many bases did they steal? How many runs did they score with sacrifice flies because they'd moved the runner around and things like that?
Exactly.
So when you're in a slump and you're not going to hit a ton of home runs, well, then you've got to find a way to to put some pressure on them. And Schilt
You
used
got
to
to
has said that.
manufacture
Yeah,
runs.
like that's
I,
what we
I,
do. We put pressure on other people, not the other way around. So,
Tatis led off with a walk, and I'm like going, okay, we need to send him. We need to get it was 4-2 at that point today, and then Arise hit into a double play. I go, all right, what? I mean, why aren't we sending him?
yeah.
He has and it's another thing I've noticed. He's not running like he did in the beginning, he was in the beginning of the year. Is he hurt? I mean,
Well, and that might be the question might be more for Schilt. I mean,
yeah,
Schilt may have given him the stop sign. He may be saying, "Hey, for right now, let's just get some hits." Again,
yeah,
that's
but
the conversation we don't hear. We don't know,
yeah,
and they're not going to answer. Shield's not going to come out and say, "Hey, that was Tatis's idea." Oh no, that was my idea.
yeah. Oh no,
Um,
Schilt will take the
yeah,
blame.
yeah,
He's a stand-up guy, but I
yeah,
just was like, well, that didn't make sense. I mean, you hit and run, because the Rise doesn't strike out. He swings at everything, so he's going to put the bat on the ball.
yeah,
At least try a hit and run, do something. I mean, it just to
yeah,
me that the station to station. Again, when we lost with the first game with Cease pitching, he gave up 3 hits, 2 were
yeah,
home runs, 3
yeah,
nothing, and we couldn't. I mean, that's a
yeah,
great performance. You made 2 bad pitches, but 3 nothing is a doable game, but not when you can't score.
yeah,
I mean, it's just like,
yeah,
I mean, the pitchers. I think it puts extra pressure on the pitchers to go, okay, the offense is really struggling. I got to go out there and I can't give up a run.
yeah.
Then you give up a run, you're like, oh crap, I just gave up a run. So for me, I agree with you. They need to go back to the. Obviously, I don't expect the Padres to go 25-3 or whatever they were,
Yeah.
beginning. I thought they were playing a little over their heads, but still, with their pitching and their bullpen for the most part, I think that but they got to get their heads on straight. And I agree with you. I don't think Tatis and Manny are not showing no emotion.
Yeah.
I mean, Manny's not even getting mad.
Yeah, and look again. I'm not expecting anybody to take out a water cooler or bash a light or whatever it might be. There's
But it
professional
wouldn't
ways to
hurt.
go about. Yeah, it just you just need a little spark, and maybe today will give us that spark. On the positive side, and again, I've told you guys I listen to a lot of sports radio, and part of it is because I want information that we can spread out here on our podcast, but one of the guys rightfully said, he said, okay, so let's go back to January or let's go right before the season started. And you're a Padre fan, and somebody comes up and says, after 48 games, you're going to be 27-21. You'll be 3 games behind the Dodgers. Will you take it? And we would have all gone, yeah,
Yeah, easily.
absolutely. I think the thing that irritates us more than anything is to know that at one point we were 27-15. And so anytime you kind of get to that stage, I like to go to the casino, and it's the same thing with gambling. Once you hit a high, you don't like to come back down.
No.
And of course, and it's not realistic that you're ever going to leave when you're at the very highest of your winnings, so to speak, and whether that's playing poker or whatever, right? Well, same thing with baseball. You very rarely know when your high is going to be. There are only a fortunate few actually get to end a season at their very high
Right.
point. But I think that what scares all of us, at least me, is we only got a few more games until we get to the NL West. We got to be straightened out by then, because
Yeah,
then it starts doubling everything, so to speak. When you
yeah,
lose, you're losing to a division opponent. If you win, you're doubling up on somebody. And we need to figure that out, and look, I have a lot of confidence in this team, and there's too many stars on this team for us to just be this way all year. I'm concerned about things, no doubt about it. I'm concerned about our lack of power from Machado. I'm concerned um, with our, left fielder issue. I think our catcher is what it is. I don't know if we have an answer for left field. In fact, I don't think we do. I don't think we're going to get one until the trading deadline, or maybe Preller pulls some magic out of his hat before then. But um, there's not a whole lot of people to trade with right now. There's really not. I mean, you're talking. That's, remember, we go back to last year when they got a rise, and we were all stunned because it's May. Like,
yeah.
who makes trades in May? And I think that's the same thing with
The
this year.
Marlins.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Who are you gonna? They've already made it pretty much clear they're not going to trade probably the guy that would fit for us, which is Stour. But they're not going to
Yeah,
trade him. I mean, Marlins tend to, they're not totally stupid, so to speak.
I
Um,
don't know.
they'll
I
they'll
don't
get
know.
rid of guy. Well, they get rid of a, yeah, they got rid of a rise for a bag of peanuts, so to speak, and he had a year and a half left, but I don't think they're going to get rid of somebody that's got 3 or 4 years left. I mean,
I don't know if he
that's
has
kind of
three
how
or
they
four
build their
years.
team.
I think this is
Uh,
his fifth year.
who, Stour?
Yeah, I thought he played with Baltimore for a while.
Boy, gosh. Yeah, good old Michael. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you've been listening the whole time, but you're right, Michael. That's the other thing. San Diego is so hungry for a winner, that we have over attached ourselves as far as expectations. There's no doubt about it. And the funny thing is we've been baseball fans for, I've been for at least 50 years, more than that, in fact. And this,
There's got to be
but
more. Yeah,
in the moment, you kind of forget about it, because that you're going to have the roller coasters. You're going to have these periods of frustration, just as much as was the expectation after 7-0 that we were going to go 162-0. Well, if you listen to the local sports show, or you watched Twitter, you had a thought so, because
well,
that's
I
what
bet
everybody was thinking.
I had bet my house on that, and so now I have to move out
Yeah.
because they ended up not doing it. But would have been a big payday.
Yeah.
But
But the baseball season is based on means. It's based on averages, and so if you put you put 7 or 8 guys out on the field, so to speak, and guess what? The averages are going to work out somewhere down the line, so to speak. It's also rare that you have the 5 games we had. It's also rare to go out and score 60 runs in 4 games. They can happen. Yeah, we always say, man, we wish we could even it out. What was it when we scored all those runs in Colorado, the 25 runs or whatever? Mark Grant even said, it's like, hey, can we borrow some of those for the next,
well,
couple of days
it's
here?
funny.
Because you
I
hate
was
wasting
thinking
them.
about that today, and they had the first 2 games. They had such they were just hammering the ball. I said, I wonder if that screws up hitters, and that's been talked about before. When you go to Colorado and hitters, it's a different ballpark. It's
Yeah,
wide open. There's huge. It's easier to hit a home run there. It's just, does that screw up hitters when you? It's like when the players do the at the All-Star break, they do the home run
yeah,
derby,
yeah. Some
and a
guys
lot of them
don't do
won't
it. Yeah,
because it says it screws up their swing. Does that
yeah,
screw? Because it's like that next day, that last week when against that
yeah,
pitcher, we always have problems with, and then we faced the Seattle Mariners and 2 pitchers that weren't really that great, and then we had Who was really good, but I wonder if that screwed everybody up because everybody was just smacking the crap out of the ball. And I realize
yeah,
it's the Rockies and their pitching's not as good, but I think that can kind of get into your head and screws things up. It's almost, again, I don't know, but I've heard other teams complain about that over the years about going to Colorado. It's like, and
Yeah,
it's like one of those. It's like when Colorado, when the players go on the road, a lot of those hitters back in the past would struggle on the road. Obviously, it wasn't as easy to hit there, but because they're trying to hit a home run, but they're at Petco where it's not as easy to hit a home run. But I don't know.
well,
Something's
I know
happened where they're
the
also
3 games against the Angels, that was not evident, and that was the first 3 games right after Colorado. Again, I've heard the same thing, that some guys just get it in their head, especially if, they're starting to hit these fly balls, they're going out, and
yeah.
baseball is a funny thing. Again, I don't pretend to be some kind of a batting instructor or anything like that, but I've read enough that you will involuntarily change your swing based on the stadium, or it's like anybody going to Yankee Stadium, a left-hander, all of a sudden they want to pull everything because you got a little 314 porch over there.
Right.
You go to Boston, if you're right-handed here, you want to hit everything over the against the wall. So I think that's a challenge that all ball players have, no matter where they go. You almost, I guess, as a manager, you almost want to just blindfold everybody. It's like, don't look at the dimensions. Just keep
Right.
doing what you're doing. Don't look at the dimensions. But
well,
that's what's the beauty of baseball, though, is all the different parks and all the different.
But I say with
angles.
the Padres is they're trying to do the Petco approach, where
Yeah.
it's line drives, and they're just not doing it. I mean, it's just I mean, I've seen some of the worst at bats, like
Yeah.
Tatis. He had a terrible at bat today. I'm like, when the runner, I'm sorry, I got the hiccups. Bogart took the ball to third. I got the hiccups. Sorry. Bogart took the ball to third, and the runner, I think it was Manny. No, it wasn't Manny. It was who was the runner at third? It was the 10th inning. Went to third. I'm thinking, okay, great. Tatis is up. Let's have it. Let's score a few runs. And then he struck out. It's like,
Yeah, it was
okay,
the
now there's
10th inning, and Arise bailed him out by getting a solid
getting
hit.
the hit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I'd rather because if you're the visiting team, like you've always said, there's a big advantage being the home team. You want to get at least 2 runs.
Oh yeah, and again, it's almost an impossible situation for a pitcher to pitch out of that. I mean, it's just it's and look, I will say this. Suarez gave up a 5 hopper through the middle of the infield. I mean, it's just hard to come down on a pitcher. So when he did that in the 10th, you're like, okay, that's just the way things are going, right?
Yeah.
Estrada did give up a pretty good base hit
Triple.
down the line. Unfortunately, I mean, that thing went right down the line, and that's going to happen. But even the winning hit was a 10 hopper through the shortstop, where the shortstop would normally be. I think there was some discussion about, and I never heard the answer because they hadn't interviewed Schilt yet, on whether kind of Monday morning quarterback kind of thing. Should he have been playing a little bit more double play depth there? That's always a tough one, because I've managed enough in Little League that you're kind of taking a chance, because if it's not a double play ball, well, now you're screwed, because there's no way that you can get the ball home in time to get the runner. If you're playing even a halfway shortstop, if you don't turn the double play, the game's over too. So,
well, I was, because they walked the runner to put runners at first and third with nobody out, and then he got an out. Right, it was because hit shallow to right and Tatis. They weren't going to run on Tatis. I was shocked that they weren't in double play depth. I said, "Well, why did you walk the guy to set up the double play?" I mean, I go, but it's if
Well, so I think it was a lefty too, Jack. But I'll go one further. And this is, again, I'm not trying to question Mike Schilt. He's got a heck of a lot more experience in this than I do. If you're going to walk one, then why not walk 2? I know that puts the onus on the pitcher. They can't walk another guy. But my thought is well, now you can double play from anywhere. If you get a hot grounder to Manny, he can step on third and go to first. If it's to the shortstop side or whatever, he can go to second and first. And and you go around the infield, and it makes everything easier as far as that.
Yeah, that's another great point, because I was like going, because again, if he's in his position, I think he could. I think because they're both.
Oh, that was an easy double play grounder if he's playing their normal.
Yeah, and I said, and I had said it before. And I go, why are we playing back? I don't get why we're playing in. And sure enough, the ball just hit. I mean, people are saying, "Oh, Estrada's a choker. He's not good in the clutch." I said, "Well, come on."
Yeah.
I go, like you said, the ball down the line was
Yeah.
literally down the line. I mean, I don't think
Yeah.
any first baseman could have got that ball because the way it was just right down the line. I mean, it just went right over the bag.
I,
I mean, there's
I've
nothing you can
always
do on that.
I've always believed, Jack, as a pitcher, if you got guys hitting ground balls, you're doing your job. They're going to find holes every once in a while, but man, I can never ever criticize a pitcher who's getting ground balls. That's because there's just some luck involved. If a guy gives up 4 hits and they're all grounders through holes, that's just my feeling. It's
Well,
like
even like I said, even
yeah,
the game-winning hit
yeah.
was should have been an out.
It's
It
like a
should have
10,
been a double
like a 10
play.
hopper. Yeah. So
Yeah, so it's like you're going to do what you.
yeah,
It's just the way the ball's bouncing right now for the Padres. And like I said, when Suarez came in and the first pitch, boom, 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 and got through, I was like, come on. It's just like
and
it
then on the
wasn't
other hand, you had Cronenworth, who is one of those guys that seems to be coming around. Had a couple of good walks, had a great at bat,
it
in the
was a
late innings,
fantastic at bat.
and he hit the daylights out of that ball, and it went right to the left fielder. I mean, that
Yeah,
was a P. It went right to the left fielder. So
because people are on Cronenworth. I go, all right, we can't blame Cronenworth. I mean, he's like you said, he had 2 walks, which is something this team hasn't been doing a lot lately.
yeah,
And I like that. It was 11 pitch at bat, I believe.
yeah, and
He
he hit
fought
it
and
right
fought
at
and fought,
somebody, and
and,
it
and
was
he scolded it. I mean, it's just if
yeah,
any luck, it's a few feet over. It's up against the wall. We're up by 2 runs.
yeah,
So and he's at probably third base. So it's just
yeah.
it's just a matter of
Sometimes it's
sometimes.
the luck of the draw, so to speak. But and Michael's in the chat here, and he's brought up a good point because we sometimes dwell on what's already happened, and I agree. It's time. You got Atlanta, and Atlanta's still kind of iffy. Uh, yeah, any team right now looks tough. I mean, made the Angels look good, although the Angels went on and swept the Dodgers. So sometimes you're catching guys at the wrong time. In Seattle, I feel the same way. I mean, they've just been on a stretch right now, and that's going to happen in baseball. Sometimes you just catch teams at the wrong time. But come on, Miami and Pittsburgh. Now if there's ever a remedy that's be ready to be found, that's it. So. Uh, uh,
Michael says, I hadn't seen the game. I hadn't seen the game, but I wonder if the coaches overrode the fielding instruction cards that the guys put in their pockets, or if the coach overrode the guidance, or if it was just a bad. If it was
the
just
instructions were
one of
bad.
those
Yeah.
instructions were bad. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, we don't have
Stuff
experience.
we talked about it, Michael. Stuff that you don't know. We cannot pretend to be the GM and why he's not making trades or why he doesn't want to make this move. Same thing with managers. I mean, he's got conversations with the players we can't even imagine, right? And whether they're feeling good, maybe they need a day off, maybe they've even asked for one, or why isn't this guy in the lineup and why is this guy playing? And he's looking, he's got 10 games in front of him that he's looking at. How many games in a row we're going to have to play, because right now they're in the middle of a I think it's like what is it, 20 something game stretch where they're playing every game or every day, excuse me. So
Yeah,
guys need a break, but yeah, the bottom line is, man, I'm still positive. I'm still positive about this. I think today actually gave me a little bit more good feeling. It really did. I know a lot of it happened from the ninth inning on and all that, but
but at least they showed some
we
fight.
talked about it. You got Arise got some hits. He's been hitting. Sheets is having a great month. Merrill looks like maybe he got out of his funk a little bit.
He almost got that one in the 10th
Yeah, so
or the 11th. I'm sorry, 11th.
sometimes that Cronenworth's having good at bats. So sometimes you just need a few. That's what we've been saying all along, right? You need a few guys to start hitting. So now maybe that catches fire and we start moving forward.
My
This is
biggest
this is
complaint.
still this is still a really good team. And one last thing, Jack, on this, I get so tired of people who just want to dump this whole team. It's like, come on. I'm sorry. I have been a Padre fan since '69. Are you kidding me? This is still one of the best teams we have ever had, ever, ever. I
Yeah.
can't emphasize that anymore. I mean, when you're
I mean,
comparing
they're
it
not
to
the
the
20. They're not the
98
27.
team,
They're not the
yeah,
27 Yankees, but they're damn good.
yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, so the bottom line is we're getting healthy now. We're hopefully Darvish is coming back pretty soon. This again, we're 6 games over 500. This is not the end of the world, and we need to kind of bring down our expectations.
Well, even the Dodgers lost 4 in a row at home.
Exactly. And the bottom line is a lot of the division is. I mean, remember back at the end of April, I believe it was, and 4 of the top 5 teams were in the National League West.
Yeah.
Guess what? That's not there anymore. The Phillies are the best team. The Cubs are up there. The Mets are up there. So I don't know exactly where we're at right now, but
And
I do.
the Cardinals have been playing.
Before today, we were the last wild card team.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, the
So
Cardinals have been on fire.
yeah, the Cardinals are the team I miss. So
And they were supposed to be in a rebuilding mode.
So you're now the 7th best team in the National League. So
Well,
it's going to be everybody's going to go through this. Like you said, the Dodgers have lost. Diamondbacks went through a tough period, and then they've bounced back now a little bit. And it makes it fun.
well, their bullpen still struggles though.
Their bullpen sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the weak spot of the Diamondbacks is the bullpen. Their starting pitching ain't nothing except for Burns, he's kind of like Cease. He just seems to have found himself now. He got off to a rough start, just like Cease, and now you look at their last 3 starts, you're like, okay, yeah,
Cease has given up the change.
Yeah.
Cease isn't throwing the changeup anymore.
Yeah,
It was something he was experimenting with, and it didn't work.
Yeah, so you have to take the Ruben, philosophy. It's like I look at the whole picture. I don't look at one game. I don't look at 3 games. I look at the whole thing. And so, in fairness, again, if you go look to the Padres stats and you look at some of these guys, they're still having really good years. The power numbers are down. They're 7 home runs behind where they were last year, but that was a 500 team for the first half. So, it's encouraging to me that we're still 6 games over 500. And yes, in years past, I distinctly remember in Memorial Day going, okay, well, what am I going to watch this year because the Padres are already out of it. I seriously
bring up a young player so I can watch his progress.
I mean, you know what I'm saying. I mean, it has.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've had years where it's like by Memorial Day, it's like we were the Colorado. Well, maybe not the Colorado Rockies, but we were pretty bad. 27-21, we were 20-28 if we were lucky. And 12 games behind already. And it's like, okay, so where are we going to go here?
Well, we were in division with the Dodgers and the Reds, so that back in the 70s that didn't help. But we were bad. But a couple of things I want to say is Arise. I like Arise, but I just want to wring his neck sometimes when he won't take the walk, and then he hits a weak. Like he did it twice in that one game where he hit 2 weak grounders a second. I go, you literally could have walked 8 times and that at bat. Yeah. Why do you swing it every single pitch, especially when you're struggling to get runners on? But then he comes through today and has he's clutch in certain situations. I go, okay, I gotta let it go. But I will want to talk about the Padre fans that want. I think we need to make a trade for a left fielder. But again, I don't want to give up because people are all complaining. You see it every day because Woods, Abrams, and Gore are all having pretty decent years. And how would Woods look in left field? How would Abrams look at shortstop? And maybe you wouldn't have to sign Bogart, whatever it was for trading Sosa. People, let's make that trade. Well, are you going to be the same ones that bitch and complain about us trading those 3 players for Soto when, it's like you're not going to get a quality left fielder for nothing. You're going to have to give up something.
Not only that, you wouldn't have King, you wouldn't have Cease. I mean, we've gone through this. We've gone through this before. The bottom line is sometimes trades work out really good at the time. And look, I think if you asked Preller, he knows he gave up good players to get Soto.
Yeah.
He knows he did. So this isn't like everybody thinks, oh gosh, Perler got snookered and everything. No, he said at the time, we're sending some quality players over there. We think Soto makes us a championship team. Did it work out? No, it didn't. You know,
Well,
but the
because
bottom line
Tatis
is,
got busted.
but the bottom line is that we also traded Soto and got Michael King, and Michael will tell you it's like, was it worth it for that 1 year? They went to the World Series because of it. So yeah, I know that the Yankees have a much more historic postseason resume, right? But the bottom line is that's
A
all you
little
can
bit.
ask for is a chance to go to the World Series. Win it or lose it, that's just going to happen, right? But bottom line is the Yankees without Soto last year probably don't go to the World Series.
No.
So you always have to ask that question: was it worth it at the time? What I failed to hear or remember was people crying over the fact that we got Soto. Like
No.
people were excited. Like, are you kidding me? We're getting Juan Soto.
Well,
The first
again,
thing everybody's talking about is let's long term him. Let's long term him. Let's buy him out. And it's like it doesn't work that way. But nobody was sitting there going, "Oh, I don't want Soto. Oh, I don't want to give up those guys." Gore was struggling with us. Abrams, had no power at that time, and my son did say, "Yeah, I kind of hate losing Abrams. I think he's got a little bit more in him." But I was like, "Okay," but it's like, well, I think we got enough shortstops, so I think we can afford it. And quite honestly, Wood, who knew about Wood that he was going to be what he is right now? And again, it's still young. He's looking like a really good player, but we're only like a year and a half into his career now.
oh yeah.
So let's find out,
Plus,
as time go on.
Abrams is not the best defensive shortstop.
No,
No,
and
so but
yeah.
another thing I always point out when people complain about the trade, I go, look, you have sellouts every game for the Padres because Soto came in here and energized the fan base.
Yeah.
And if they made the playoffs that year, and who knows? I mean, if does he make the trade if he knows Tatis is going to be out the whole season?
Yeah.
Maybe not, because I'm sure he was banking on Tatis coming back around August. I'm making this trade. Boom, boom. You had a Soto and a Tatis to that lineup.
Well,
that was already
I think
playing well.
there's more to that than you're even saying, Jack, because it's been known that Preller wanted to sign Soto long term.
Oh, he did, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Soto.
But I
refuse to believe anything but the fact that Preller, while he was probably not, what do you want to say it, in Preller's business, Seidler was not in Preller's business, but he was probably giving some strong advice about some of the guys that he wanted and what he wanted to do with his team.
And maybe if Seidler was still around, he would have signed him.
And maybe so, because from what I've heard is Scott Boras said that him and Peter had come to a deal for Soto, and he went to the hospital, passed away, and pretty much that put the kibitz on the deal.
Also, Burrows said they were working on some kind of revenue thing for the Padres, and Burrows hinted to that. That's how they were going to be able to afford Soto, but that never materialized. Yeah. So I don't know I don't have no idea what that was, because that's all you ever heard from it. But
well, who knows? Yeah. I mean, he might have been doing a Ohtani deal. I mean, maybe they were thinking of that. Like, hey, let's do that. Now, I doubt if that would have transpired, only because it's been well documented that Soto got all of his money, nothing deferred.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
I don't know if you saw it. Was it today? They moved him down in the lineup.
Yeah.
And he went up to bat and literally watched 3 pitches go down the middle, didn't swing. Like he was sulking.
He's done that quite a bit lately. So look, I'm not a Juan Soto hater, but I'm not a Juan Soto lover. There's just certain players that you're kind of ambivalent to, and he's one of them. Even with his Padres, I hope he did it well, but he's kind of like my current thing with Manny. Manny's not my favorite player. He's just a different sort. I kind of more attracted to the Jackson Merrills and Jake Cronenworth and even Tatis when he's not sulking. I like energy. I like a little energy, and again, I get it. Manny's the man in the clubhouse, and if that's what matters, that's great and all that. But I just never felt like any player is worth 700 and something million when you can get three, four, five players quality, and yeah. So
Well, Michael says what's been reported, he misses the Bronx. He never should have left.
well,
I
that's
he was
that's on
he was
him. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the Yankees offered him what, double what Judge is getting, and I don't think he's worth double what Judge
Well, let's
is
put it this
making.
way: they were in a bidding war all the way to the end, and so when you're up in the 700s and the 700 millions and all that, is 10 million really worth not going to a team that you don't want to? I think he
You
might
were
have fooled himself into thinking that the Yankee fans were going to forgive him for going over there, and he found out differently.
no, but there was no way
Yeah,
they were going to forgive him for
yeah,
going over, and it's fair they shouldn't. But
yeah,
he had the perfect situation in New York. He's got that short porch and right,
yeah,
and he has Judge hitting behind him,
yeah.
who's a better hitter than Soto.
Yeah, I've never, and we've talked about this before, not just about Padres, but about baseball in general. I've never understood players who just think that the sun shines better in another place. If you're a Colorado hitter, and I'm not picking on Colorado, there's other places, and you're in a favorable environment, you're in a favorable stadium, you have favorable fan base, wherever that is. Why would you want to leave? I mean, is it really worth that much more money? And I'm talking about the comparable deals, and yes, talking about the Soto deal where it was reported, the Yankees basically offered him the same thing as the Mets, and he took the Mets deal. And
Yeah,
you go, wouldn't you at a certain point just say, kind of like Jackson Merrill did, it's like,
yeah.
you know what, I know I could get more someplace else, but I really like it here. And I can't help but think that he looks over to right field and sees Tatis and knows that he's going to be here a long time. And like, that's a guy I could partner with for the next 7 or 8 years. I think I could take a little bit
Together,
less
we're
money.
probably the best outfield dual,
Yeah,
center field, right fielder in the
yeah.
game. But
I don't
like
know the
you
way
say,
Grisham's heading for the Yankees. You could argue him and Judge.
yeah, that's true. Grisham he'll become Grisham again, but he's not taking the third strike so
Yeah.
anymore. He's swinging at it for whatever reason. He couldn't do that
Well,
in
look,
San Diego.
so here's a guy who got traded, probably got a little bit, ticked off because, he's included in the deal. He didn't have a good year the first year with them, was spot playing. And but now he's using that right field porch to his advantage. Grisham had power with us too. The problem was it was a lot of swings and misses that went with it. He's always
Well,
been an awesome outfielder. He's always
no,
been
my
an awesome
my
outfielder.
problem was it's not swinging misses. It's just looking at the third
Yeah.
strike. It was like,
Well,
oh my
both.
god,
Yeah. Yeah.
swing
You
the
know,
bat.
speaking of the Padres deal with they're interviewing. I got a TV on in the background. They were doing a thing on the Padres, and now they're doing with the Nationals, and they've got Robert Housel up there, who is the other component of that Soto trade.
Oh,
So,
is he up? He's up in the
yeah,
big leagues
he had
now.
the game winning hit today. So yeah,
Oh, really? I didn't know
yeah,
he was even that close.
yeah,
Finishing with Soto, you're right. I mean, it's sometimes, especially I could see if you're playing for a team that just is never going to win. I
yeah.
see going to Colorado. Is Colorado? I mean, they've been to the World Series once. I mean, I know the Padres don't have a long history of it, but they've just been bad, bad, bad for so long. And you go, there's just certain teams, but it's the Yankees. And
Yeah.
I'm not a big. I don't really like the Yankees, but I like their past. I mean, they're old. Back. Really before Steinbrenner, because Steinbrenner hurt the game. But but I like the Yankee tradition. If I'm on the Yankees and they're offering me similar money to what the Mets are offering, even if it's lower,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with the Yankees because I got a better chance of going to the World Series. Not to take anything away from the Mets, but the Mets don't have a history of being that great franchise. Even though they have an owner who's willing to spend money, it sometimes takes more than just money to be successful. And the Yankees, seem to do a better job with their farm system. And it's the Yankees. I mean, it's still, it's the Yankees. If you're successful, and again, that ballpark was perfect for Soto. He should be a DH. But anyway,
Well, I think the gist of the question is are you looking to make the most money you can? Are you looking to go to an environment where you will be one of many stars? Are you going to be Manny Machado and you're going to go to a franchise that maybe is an upstart and like, hey, I want to be the guy they build around to build this legacy. So I think there's many different reasons, and all guys are all different. I mean, um, and look, again, we're not in the clubhouse. We don't know what the conversations are. For us, we got a lot of questions in the off season, and I'm not trying to jump ahead, but on that same subject, are we going to sign Cease? Are we going to sign King? Are we going to sign Arise? I mean, we've got some question marks on
are
where
we
we're
going to
going
lose
to go
Suarez?
after that. Yeah. So, there's a lot of question marks every year. And, I feel for GMs because they don't have some of these guys may have already given them an answer. Now, I'm here to tell you, I just really, in my gut, and I've been wrong before because I thought Blake Snell was coming back as a Padre. I was so sure that he was going to sign with the Padres.
I thought he was too.
I just really and of course he just took off like a lightning bolt as soon as.
Does he cut?
Because he didn't get an offer from the Padres that it was to his satisfaction. Signed with the Giants for 1 year.
But yeah, the
and then
Seidler
Dodgers. Yeah.
had passed away though. Is Seidler's around? Does Blake Snell?
Yeah. But the bottom line is sometimes you just don't know. And I got this gut feeling that Michael King's going to sign with the Padres. I just had this gut feeling just because of the way the deal went down. The $3 million this year, $18 million next year as an option. I just got the feeling that there's a handshake deal that says, look, Michael, here's the deal. We want you to be here. We'll put 18 million out there. If you suck, you got 18 million coming next year. If you do good, we're gonna sign you, but we just can't do it right now. We can give you 3 million right now to keep you happy, so to speak. And I just have this gut feeling there's been a backroom deal to that extent where Michael King's they're gonna get to the end of the season, and I think it's gonna be one of the first announcements the Padres make is they're gonna sign him to a 5-year, $200 million deal or whatever it is, 4 years.
Well, they can't lose both. They can't lose both King and Cease, even though Musgrove.
They can always go get somebody else. I mean, I'm never in the can't. I don't think there's ever you can't do this.
I love Cease. I like Cease, but if I had my choice, I'm taking King because I just think King's a bulldog. I mean,
well, they're the same age. The only the difference is that
King actually I think King's a little older.
No, 29 and 30. Yeah.
Cease is 30?
Yeah, they're Cease is 29, King's 30.
30. Okay.
Yeah. They're 1 year apart. I know that because they actually brought it up on the radio show here.
But King has less miles on his arm because
exactly. So he's less and to me, I love them both. I really do. I just think that King just fits better. I think his personality fits with the team. I think he's more, what do we call it, even as far as his performance. You don't see him getting beat up nearly as much as Cease. Now, again, I'm not knocking Cease. I love to have them both because, Cease, man, when he's on, he's unhittable. I mean, truly unhittable. And I think they both have that in them. But to sit there and say that we can't, have them both leave. Well, you got Musgrove coming back. You got Darvish. I know he's getting older, and you got Vasquez, and you still got Kolick, and now does that mean that's all we're going to have? No, because then if he loses both of them, well, guess what? Now you've got money to go spend for other pitchers, and there's going to be other free agents, and I think that's one of the signature of AJ Preller right now. He's got his core. Every year, I'm going to build around that core. That's his signature. He feels happy knowing that he's got Musgrove and Darvish. He's happy because he's got Machado and Tatis and Bogarts and Cronenworth. He's got his core, and
Merrill
every year, and Merrill.
You left off Merrill.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going through the name, but I'm just saying he's got his core. He's got his core of 7 players that it's like these are the guys are going to build around, and I think people sometimes get frustrated because we've talked about before, you can't long term everybody because then you're really stuck. You have no money to spend. And if somebody sucks, then you're stuck with them, So I think he's done a good job. I think, I think even the Bogarts, he might have paid too much for him. That's fine. He's still a good player, So I don't think we're stuck with anybody. We don't have an Eric Hosmer. Loved Eric Hosmer his first couple of years with the Padres, and then after that, oh well.
He's off the
But I don't
books
think
at
we're
the end of this year.
but I don't think we're stuck with anybody. I don't see anybody we sit there and go, oh gosh, we're gonna have to carry this guy for. I think they're all very serviceable. Whether or not they're worth the money, I don't care. I don't pay the money, so I don't care. They're on the team. I feel good about it. That's my positive Jerry.
All right, positive Jerry. I like positive Jerry. That's positively. I can't argue with you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just we'll see what happens, but
It's a new week coming up, Jack. I mean,
yeah, I
that's
know
the
people.
thing.
People like I said, but I'm on Twitter. People are like, "Oh, this team sucks. This is going to be 21-23 all over." I'm like going. It was just 2 weeks ago, a week ago. We were like, "This team is just good." They just stopped hitting. It's again. I think it's because they. And I said this during the playoffs last year against the Dodgers. You gotta make things happen. You can't just keep going up there with the same approach. You know, you got to take walks. You gotta move runners over. You gotta steal bases. Stealing bases is I've said it 1,000 times. It really messes up the pitcher. It gets in their head because now they got to think about you running because they don't want you at second base.
Yeah.
Two things: first, you can steal the signs. Second, you're in scoring position.
Yeah.
Unless you're with the Padres, then you're not. But
well, just like I said, even if it's a hit and run every once, or even if it's a bunt, I go through just like anybody. You can go to your team's best winning streaks or best 10 games or whatever you want to call it, and if you go back and look at it, you're going to see what it takes to win. And I know I'm focusing on the first 7 games, but I remember going, "Wow, we are really running." Not just stealing, but we're running well. We're hitting and running. We're hitting behind the runner. And I remember many of those games where it's like we scored 2 runs off of just hitting behind the runner and then a sac fly, or bunting a guy over and then a single. And it's just things like that. And
it also
as a
puts
manager,
pressure.
It kind of takes the onus off of everybody because look, they're human. I get it. The travel's really tough. I mean, you go all the way to Toronto, and now you got to go all the way down to Atlanta, and then you come back to San Diego, and you're not getting days off, and that's tough. I mean, that's mentally and physically tough. I just got through with our jaunt to Cleveland and Pittsburgh, and man, I got back. I haven't played any ball, but I'm tired, and I know I'm an old guy, but it's just it's the wear and tear of a 6-hour flight, and you got to go sit in another hotel, and you got to unpack, and then you're eating, you're sleeping in a strange bed, and you're different food and different ballpark, and where do I go? It just, like I said, they get paid a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but man, they work for a living, and when stuff that's when stuff can get to you. The little things can start getting to you. So anyway,
but another thing too, when you're running the ball, it also puts pressure on the defense. You have to think.
Oh, sure.
But with Tatis, I heard a rumor, and I don't know if it's true. I didn't look it up, but I don't know if someone said his dad's not doing well, and I don't know if that is true. I don't know if it's just a rumor out there because he just, like you said, he's not the same guy he was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's just not.
Well, I don't think the whole team is. I honestly, I picked on Manny and I picked on Fernando a little bit, but yeah, I'm not seeing any excitement. And again, it's hard for me, but the guys going back to the dugout, there's no like pats on the back. It seems like, hey, get it next time. A lot of people running like Manny to first base. Like,
yes.
Oh, it's a grounder, and I'm like, okay, are we just totally going to go that way now, or they asked Doug Glanville, who does a lot of podcasts and everything, and they asked him about that. And he's kind of a mixed, he's kind of mixed. He goes, I remember when I was in the stands and Sean Dunston, who was a pretty good shortstop for the Chicago Cubs for many years, and Sean Dunston had just had back surgery and was coming back to play for the Cubs and everything. And he just saw, yeah, this guy's out there and he's diving for ground balls and he's stretching singles to doubles. And and he was in the minor leagues at the time. And he goes, I have no excuses. There's no excuse for me not to hustle. He says, but I do. He says, there's the other part of me. I get it. It's 162 games. It's a long season. Should I really bust my butt to just haul down the line when the guy's holding the ball at second and he's going to make a 20-foot throw and I'm only halfway there? Should I really just, go all out? And so, even here's a pretty good ball player in his own right, saying, yeah, I've got mixed feelings on that. Now, he says there's just times, though, it's unacceptable. And he pointed out the guys who come to light, the ones who were hitting it off the wall, and yet they were just jogging out of the box, and like, oh, it didn't go out. Oh, well, now I only got a single out of that,
Well, that happened yesterday with Toronto. I think it was Sandantor.
Sandantor,
he hit it off the wall, and I went, how's he not at second base? And then they showed it.
They showed it. He's jogging out of
the bag, yeah.
So that's where his line was at. And quite honestly, I can't disagree with him. I think that's kind of where my line is. I get the 162 grind, but to his point, it's like, no, this posing at the plate, it's just a dangerous thing.
Yeah, if like you said, Ricky Henderson did it a couple of times with the Padres. He hit a ball, and when I go, with his speed, he was loafing. He thought he hit a home run.
Ricky don't run.
Ricky don't run, but Ricky knows when he has to run. I get it with Manny. Manny, I get it. When he has to hustle, he hustles.
Yeah.
But But I have seen Fernando doing it now, and there's someone else doing it. I said, "Wow, the whole team's doing it now." It seems like. But I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, but when they're playing well, you overlook it. When they're not playing well, you can't help it. It sticks out like a sore thumb. But let's come to we're almost at an hour now. Let's talk about our predictions. Last week we were all terrible. We got the Braves for 3, and then the Marlins or the Pirates.
I think it's, you know what? I'll have to look it up, Jack. Let me look it up real quick here. Bring up the Padres. Let's see what their schedule looks like.
Pirates, Michael says. Well, it's good that the Yankee fan knows.
Yeah.
What our schedule is.
Yeah.
So 3 with the Braves.
No, it's 3 with the Braves and then 3 at home with the Padres, with Miami.
So Michael, you were wrong.
Yeah,
you're wrong.
And then we finally get our off day, or we get an off day on Thursday. So
thanks, Michael, for making me look bad. I think you did that intentionally.
So actually, I was incorrect. The long string of games starts after the Miami series. They get the day off on Thursday. Then they got 3 at Pittsburgh, 4 at San Francisco, 3 at Milwaukee, 3 with the Dodgers, and they finally get a day off. So they got to go through about 13 or 14 games in a row. So,
yeah, I'm kidding, Michael.
Yeah,
kind of. Let's see. So we do have our top 3 going against the Braves, right?
Pivetta. We're going to have Pivetta and then King and Cease. Yeah.
Okay, so if the hitting comes around, the Mets can be. The Braves can be tough. They're playing much better ball than they were in the beginning, and then we have the Marlins after that. I hope for 4-2.
Yeah, I know it's always easy to go 4, and I mean it's always easy to say 4-2 because it kind of gives us an out for the one game in each series. Again, I probably say that more than anybody because I just always believe if you're playing 3-game series and you're winning them, you're a 667 club. I mean, that's a good aim. But I am going to put my positive side here, and I'm going to go 5-1. I think the Marlins are that beatable. I think it's going to be tough, but we seem, gosh, where's my wood here? Knock on wood. We seem to match up with the Braves pretty good. The playoffs, the early season. Now, of course, that scares you because they're probably a little PO'd right now. They're probably sitting there going, let's think of Padres. We got to beat them. Like, they took us out of the playoffs last year. They beat us like a drum the first 4 games this year. We need to go out there.
We also beat them. We also were better than them in the during the season last year too. We beat them up last year,
Which
so
is funny because there was a time where they just beat the shoe polish off of us all the time too.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm going 5-1.
All right. Well, I
Yeah.
hope no Oz today.
Well, we changed our time
That's
to
true. That's
accommodate.
true.
So she
Yeah.
might have signed on. It looked like Michael got on at our normal time, and
Yeah.
we weren't here.
Sorry,
So
that was my
we hope
fault.
to we hope to get back to our normal time next week.
Should be because I'm done with Survivor. I'm done with the mix. I do a podcast on Survivor and a podcast on the
Yeah.
Amazing Race, and I had to. I didn't want
You
to.
have more important things to do, Jack. I get it.
Well,
Okay.
no, I didn't want to record last night. Survivor didn't end last night till after 11, and then by the time we would start, I go, I'm not. I got grandkids in the morning. I cannot be up till 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, which makes it tough when the Padre home games. It's funny because the other day I thought when the first game on Tuesday against Toronto, I go fourth inning. I go, do they start
Oh,
early?
that's right.
And I go, oh crap, they're in Toronto. I thought they were in
They're in
San
your
Diego.
time zone. Yeah.
Yeah, I said, oh, the best time because the games, but then the games are still like till 10:30.
Yeah.
It's like,
Hey, Michael, I can't disagree with what maybe it's too optimistic, but if they can go 4-2 and 5-1, so to speak, on against Miami, Pittsburgh, I'd be happy. You look at the next 9 games. It's, to me, a very successful would be 6-3 or 7-2. That's what we need. And you know what? All this will be forgotten. It'll be like we've had times before, back in 23 and other times.
well, last year we had 3 or 4 or 5 game losing streaks.
Yeah, it's so correctly. Again, I think that to wrap it all up, I think that the biggest thing everybody has is that the offense just went dead. It's not it is the 6 losses in a row, but it's the fact that 5 of them were just absolute zero hitting, nothing clutch. You're setting records that go back to the 1972 Padres, for crying out loud. So that's never a good thing when you're historically Major League Baseball, not just the Padres record, but that was a lot of comparisons to that. So
those were good teams.
Yeah, but here we go. Let's be optimistic. I think they found their groove today hitting wise. I think it'll carry over to Atlanta. So,
and Sheets is he's big enough to hit 40 homers. I mean, he's a big guy, and he's got power, and he seems to have a lot of confidence. And again, he's this year's Profar.
Yeah. If you go back to, I told you just by chance, I usually shut it off, but the MLB Tonight or whatever is on right now, and they started off with the Padres and Toronto, and they did a special section on Gavin Sheets. So if you can go back and look at that, it'll probably replay after it's on right now. So anyway,
all right. Is Harold
that's
Reynolds
it for me?
It?
Huh?
Is Harold Reynolds on it?
No. Which makes it good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure. All right, guys. Thanks, Michael, for joining us. We had other people that have been watching. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Share the video. And we will be back next week. Hopefully, Jay will be here. I hope he's jet setting off to another country. I don't know where he's going. Paris or something. He's a world traveler now. I don't know what to do with him. But we're gonna hope the Padres turn it around and get back to where it's fun watching the Padres and good luck with your Yankees, Michael. Good luck with your Yankees.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
See you next time.